I strongly feel that the scholarship application process would be much easier if we have successful scholarship applicants tell us what they did differently. I mean, imagine someone who has won not one, not two, but multiple scholarships from different countries tell us tips, suggestions, and guides on how to apply to secure full funded scholarship. That would be amazing, isn't it? And that is why we have good news on the stage today with us. And I can tell you for a fact, this is one of the best interviews I've done. One of the best interview. There are other interviews, and this is one of those that I love so much. And why is that? Because he secured full scholarships in Austria, in Australia, and in the United Kingdom. So what did he do differently to secure this many scholarships? Not one, not two, not three, but even more than three. In fact, even getting a scholarship twice in 2 separate years. So there must be something, isn't it? And that is what we want to share today. But not just that, we also want to look at his motivation, how he searched for these scholarships, the application processes, the challenges, how he overcame the challenges, how he submitted strong applications. Did he take a language test? These questions and many more. In fact, one other question is, what advice does he have for scholarship applicants? And I'm telling you for a fact, I think you will enjoy this video. I am positive that you will enjoy this video. If you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Brendo. I'm a doctoral student here at the University of Strathclyde, and I received full funding for my program. And that helped me to see that you don't always have to be the best. You just have to be intentional. You have to be deliberate in your scholarship application process. So, without further wasting of time, let's jump right into the video. Thank you so much, Good News, for joining us. And let's begin with the first question. Thank you so much for being here. So, can you introduce yourself and tell us about your name, your country, and the scholarship you received?
Okay, my name is Good News, and I'm a Nigerian. I'm currently on my second master's in the United Kingdom. I did my first master's at the University of Birmingham. That was in 2020 to 2023, and that was through Commonwealth shared scholarship. And I then, of course, went back to my country to work, and I came to the UK for my second master's again to study for. So because my background, I'm a pharmacist by training, and I came to the UK again to do a master's in drug discovery and development. The initial one just to augment what I did in my first training, which was a master's in clinical oncology. So basically, my interest is in cancer research and all that. And so, basically, I'm in the UK with my second master's, and with the hope of progressing after now for my PhD. So I'll be commencing my PhD this year.
Okay. So, your master's, is it on scholarship as well?
Yeah, so my current master's, yes, it's on scholarship by from the University of Leeds. That's the Alan and Nesta Ferguson scholarship, University of Leeds.
Oh, that's amazing. So, you've got two master's scholarship, one from Commonwealth and the other one university specific scholarship.
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. And do you now have a scholarship for your PhD? You mentioned something about that.
Yes, so I got a fully funded scholarship um from a university in Australia, yeah, where I'll be doing my PhD.
Applying to scholarship is time consuming, rigorous. It's sometimes frustrating, but it doesn't always have to be that way if you have someone who has succeeded guide you through the application process. I succeeded in getting two full funding for my PhD program, and I selected the best one for myself. And I can guide you through the application process. Currently, I'm guiding a number of applicants to apply for scholarships all over the world. Take, for example, I had a one to one meeting with Bless from Poland who is looking for a master's scholarship. And after reviewing her profile, I gave her tips to improve her chances. In another one-to-one meeting I had with Lame from Botswana, who is looking for a PhD program, I reviewed his application and his proposal. And after looking at all of these, we discussed extensively and I guided him to also contact a supervisor. Another meeting I've had recently is with Joy from Nigeria, who is looking for a Masters by Research program. I helped her to search for tailored scholarship and also offered her guidance to contact supervisors. Now, these three and many others are working on the feedback to submit strong applications, and you can be one of them. yes, you can be one of them. So if you're interested, my calendar is open. You can book a one-to-one session with me, and I'm happy to assist you in the scholarship process. Now let's jump right back into the video. Right. So what scholarship did you win, and what's the name of the university in Australia?
Okay, so the scholarship I got was the scholarship I was given because so the way it happens is that they have a range of scholarships.
Okay.
You just make one application and they screen you for eligibility for all the scholarship and they give you what they feel like they want to give to you.
Mm,
Yes. So what I was given was it's called University International Postgraduate Award.
okay.
Yes, and it's fully funded as well, like fully funded. That include school fees for the duration of the PhD, annual stipend, relocation allowance, thesis allowance, like everything you can actually think of. It even covers for health insurance.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, and basically, yeah. So that's the school, and the university is University of New South Wales, Sydney.
Mm,
It's one of Australia's top university. I think the recent QS ranking that was released last week. Was it last week? Yeah, last week. Is currently ranked 20th position in the world. So it's a great university. They have a range of scholarships, like range of scholarships. So they have, I think, ROTP, which is the Australian government scholarship that has to do with the research training program. Then they have UAIP and some are not fully funded, why some are fully funded. So based on your but I think they give a lot of persons to that UAIP.
Interesting, interesting. So that's three scholarships at one, successively. But then the question
Yeah.
is, David, have you ever received any rejection? How many scholarship applications have you submitted in total, and how many rejections would you say they are compared to the successes?
Okay, well, I I can't even count the number of scholarship I've done. Yeah, I've done for so basically, I think you have more of the term scholarship. It's uh it's loosely used. Okay, I want to say that it's loosely, yes, loosely used in the sense that so in places like the UK where you get so for masters mainly a lot of times so for masters you get a scholarship for the in the UK, but for PhD, a lot of times they don't really tend to call it scholarship in quotes. Or unlike like in the US, for example, they don't call it scholarship, right? They just tell you that funding, they make funding available whereby you need to work either as a teaching and part of that funding that's made available, you a lot of times you need to work either as a research assistant or a teacher. So this thing is it's not really a generic term like that. However, for scholarship specific, I did a lot of more of scholarship application for my masters. So I know that I did apply for Chevening once. And I did apply for Chevening once. So, however, the same year I applied for Chevening, the same year I applied for Commonwealth, and I didn't get Chevening, but I got Commonwealth. So I was rejected in Chevening. Well, I'm glad I didn't do Chevening. Chevening doesn't look like my kind of scholarship I would want to get anyways. So and for PhD, as I said, most PhD doesn't, it's not really scholarship in quotes. So most PhDs in the Western countries are funded, most especially I just need to, in the STEM field, they are funded because a lot of times they are tied to specific projects. So their funds are made available for that project to bring in a PhD student because you're working on something that will improve research in the institution and generally in the country at large. Okay, so for that, while I was doing my masters at the University of Birmingham, I did apply for several PhDs. I did apply for several PhDs. So one of them, some of them, I actually got to the interview stage. Yes, I was even placed on reserve and all that. So fundings were available. I was even placed on reserve. So one to be specific, I applied to a university in Austria, the specific in Austria, and I was even invited. So I traveled, everything was paid for, tickets and everything, visa. So I went there to do the interview. However, the project I really wanted, I didn't get project, although I was in a way being asked if I was going to be interested in other project, but I had to decline. I had to decline that because I the project that actually made me apply, I didn't get that. But I had other supervisor that wanted to see if I would accept doing on that project, but I actually declined that. Then fast forward to that, I made a couple of applications. I did apply to schools in US. Some of them I was placed on. One of them I was placed on reserve. I did the interview. Then I did apply to I did apply to Cambridge here in the UK. Yes, I was also placed on reserve at Cambridge, and so I think my last and my only um, application in that actually got me everything, like a total package, fully funded and everything, was the application I made in Australia.
Mhm.
So I met someone in one of my interviews who had done an application to Australia, and we got talking. He's a Kenyan to be specific. So we got talking, and he said that he had made an application, and to see if he just told me about it, and I took interest in it. I'd never looked at Australia before while I was trying, my course of application. Australia had never really been. Australia had always appeared as like as a hot, should I say, hard nut to crack. The application process are not always straightforward and all that. So he told me about it, and so I think what really encouraged me about applying to Australia was um, my. So I tried to get a supervisor, and the institution he applied to, I also tried to contact some supervisors from those institutions, and interestingly, I got a reply from them. Like I got a reply, and they were willing to supervise me. Although I finally didn't go pull through with that application, but other. I started searching for other institutions that really have what I would really want to research in, and luckily, I saw. So what I did, the project I actually worked on in my masters, I saw kind of very closely related projects. So I reached out to the PI, and that was how I started my application to the Australian university, and
Wow.
I got yeah. So that's how I started it, and my focus was mainly. So I just directed my attention to that. Prior to then, I had never made any research on Australia,
Mm.
like a full comprehensive research on Australia. There's never really been of a great interest. But after that, I started having conversations, and I followed through the process, and I got the offer.
That's interesting. So you've mentioned besides the Commonwealth, the Ferguson, and the PhD scholarship you have now, there have been other successes, although you were placed on reserve list. So in all your applications, what would you say made your application stand out for each of them?
Well, so what I would say, well, specifically, I really can't say what actually made my application stand out, right? But I know that I can say categorically why I did not get some of those offers. Yes, I knew why my in some of those places why my application wasn't really strong enough. Yes, I knew that. So one thing is for you to know what the eligibility criteria, what the eligibility criteria, what they are, and also to be able to um, also get it's just to get a benchmark of some of those criteria and also have more, because the truth is if you have those criteria and they have other candidates that have better qualification or better skill sets, they would it's natural for them to want to look tilt towards some of those candidates. So, but what I can say specifically is that one of the um, one of the things that anyone applying for funding, either scholarship or any sort of funding, it's first to meet the basic benchmark, like the basic criteria. So if they say that they want someone with a research experience, it's good you actually go there with that research experience, right? So get the basic eligibility criteria, because the truth is you may never know what to make your application stand out, because the context of your application standing out is that your application was better than other persons. And trust me, you never get to know the number of persons that are actually putting forward that application. You never get to know what they have. Do you
Mm.
get what I mean now?
You,
Yes, you
you,
never get to know. However, so some of the eligibility criteria. So I'll give an example. So and now I'll just have to be very frank. So my application I made in so during my interview process in Cambridge, one of the so when I didn't get it, I was placed on first reserve. So I did send an email, because that's one thing I do, which I would encourage. Just like what you do in a job interview, where you do an interview and you are not given, and you can ask what were some of your weak points that actually was against you making the A list and all that. So that's one thing I do a lot. I'll try to ask, okay, what was the reason? Like, if you could give me like feedback and all that. I do that a lot. And so the feedback I got was that my performance was outstanding, was good and everything. However, and of which, yes, I agree with them on that. So throughout my course, my experience in terms of my academic training and all that, I had not. So I'm from a more of a clinical background, right? I've actually not engaged so much in a wet lab, like carrying out a wet lab project from start to finish. I'm more of from a clinical background, although my interest is in wet lab. So I was actually going to do a PhD that will require me to do a comprehensive wet lab. So when I mean wet lab, it's like carrying out full experiments in the lab. Like your experiment is mainly in the lab. It's not, I mean, you're not working with just system or softwares, you're just working in the lab. So I really don't have a full experience on that. So that was one of the main challenge I was actually getting. Like, so one of the main things I was encountering in most of my interviews. Okay, so mine, everything was good. I had the grades, I had the results, but they were looking for a wet lab experience. Because you know that if you're doing a PhD, they expect that they should be able to drive the experience to yourself. I think some of the top ranking universities, that's what they want. I don't know for any reason why they want, but that's what they want. They want you to be able to carry out that research yourself. So that was one of the main challenge I know I had. However, while I was for what I was going to do in the PhD offer I got in Australia, it's more of a translational research. So they also require a set of clinical experience and also the wet lab, right? So yeah, so my supervisor saw that, okay, I already have a little wet lab, and I also have great clinical experience.
yeah.
And so it made me a perfect fit and a perfect match in that work. For example, I had worked with animals before, and so part of what they wanted also was someone. So I actually ticked all the boxes and everything that they actually needed for the project.
That's interesting. That's really interesting
Yeah.
and fascinating. You mentioned to meet the basic criteria, that should be the starting point. As long as you meet
Yes.
the basic criteria and then you have more, you can be
Yes.
competitive. But then, talking
Yes.
about your background, what would you say your academic achievement, both for your undergraduate and master's, what would you say, what role did your academic achievement contribute compared to things like maybe leadership or community involvement, other non-academic?
Okay. Okay. So I think my academic background actually played a lot to it. As I said, I'm a pharmacist, and um, also I already so for my academic background, I already um, yes, doing my sets, as in doing my graduating class, of course, I was like the best student in my faculty, and also I have over the years I've actually garnered a lot of awards, like academic awards, and so because a lot of times for some of those funding, the way they try to rate um excellent student is okay. What are your academic achievement? Now, not every institution um, actually use some of those criteria, but generally they will just want to work with the fact that okay, if this person was a great student in undergraduate, right? In my masters, for example, I of course I have a distinct I came out with the distinction, and so if this person over the years have been able to achieve these things, right? So this it means that this person can do well in this field, right? So from academic background, I had kind of in a way being an excellent student, and so of course definitely it would want to play a very good role to in terms of even meeting the benchmark of being shortlisted for an interview and all that. And also I've had a couple of research experience that actually brought out a few publications, and so some of those things were very very important um, in actually getting some of those awards, and also even for my PhD, because the thing about um, so like a I'll use Australia general as an example. So Australia as a country, I am from my research afterwards, I started making research and all that. Australia as a country have a lot of funding for especially for research. So masters in research, masters in philosophy, or and PhD. So for any research, they have fundings for that. I think they have some universities don't even have a benchmark on like it's some universities is as much as we have people that can actually apply, as in that can if you meet the eligibility criteria, you even see it there. They don't have any particular limits.
Yeah,
They
no
give
limit.
as much yes as much as you can apply. Okay, and Australia is a very great country when it comes to giving funding for research for research. So for research, I think part of the thing they had not to really crack for Australia application from experience, um, they they have a very high benchmark, which I think that of which one of them include yes, they are very high in publications. Australia is one. I think Australia, US, and UK, they don't even treat publications like Australia. They don't treat it as because for an Australian university to be expecting you to have publication in a Q1 journal, that's crazy. I
That's
would
really high.
actually say like
That's really
yes,
high for scholarship
yes,
application. Wow.
yes, it's actually demanding a lot. And I think I spoke with one of my friends that works there at the institution there in Australia. He actually went there for PhD as well, but he works there. He was trying to tell me that yes, that they are really so big. They are so big on that. So my research experience and the few publications I've been able to gather, it's not really a lot. I think I submitted just like two publications. Then having a good grades and all that actually made uh, made my application successful. However, I want to say this. I don't know if you're going to ask that question, but now one of the rate limiting steps for applying. Now, I'm just being more specific
Mm.
for Australian universities now. So one of the rate limiting steps for gaining admission or gaining the scholarship or funding in Australian university is getting a supervisor.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think for Australian university, if you can get a supervisor, you are like 70%
LinkedIn.
there.
Yeah. So I've
Trust
done
me.
videos already on Australian scholarships from University of
Okay.
Melbourne with 600 scholarship, University of Monash, and then Australian National University. And one of the criteria is you need to get the approval of a supervisor. That is
Yeah.
essential for a master by research or MPhil or doctoral studies. So how do you contact your supervisor? How did you reach out? Did you attach your
Okay.
proposal in the email or on the CV, or how did you go about that?
Okay. But just to say, I think most so just to add to what you just said before I respond to that. Unfortunately, Australia hardly fund master thoughts. You never they don't fund it. Even if you check,
Yeah,
they really
master's
don't
by
fund
research.
master.
Master's by research.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, masters by research mainly. Okay, reaching out to a supervisor is actually is the general code mail. However, I've from experience on Australian University and trying to speak with people and advising them on how to make the application. Unlike a place like in the US or UK where you may just want to send a cover letter and CV as a code mail. For Australian, most Australian universities, so if they don't have a dedicated site, because some of them will tell you to do what we call EOI, that's expression of interest. Why some of them, like for me, I just went straight to my supervisors, right? My supervisor, my main supervisor. So what I did was that I sent, so my code mail was typed in the body of the mail, right? Then I attached my CV, I attached my transcript, I attached my certificate, I attached everything, my bachelor's and my master's while I
Oh,
was sending the code mail. Yes.
so that
And
is
I
even
think
more than what is required.
yes, and I think most Australian university, that's what they that's like their requirements. They would really want you to sometimes a lot of times if you carefully read the description there, they will ask you to attach some of those things.
Mm.
Right. So yes, so I sent everything. Like I
Okay.
just sent everything.
Yeah, so for most of the research I've done on Australian universities, you'll be told to send a proposal and a CV. But you mentioning sending me your certificate, your transcript, that is something that would definitely stand out in the application or in contacting a
Yes,
supervisor.
yes.
Uh,
I sent everything. I sent my bachelor. So what I did normally is that I attached everything about my bachelor's. So I attached my everything about my bachelor's, which is my certificate and the transcript. I just attached them together as one. So when you see my certificate, you get to see my transcript, my grades, and everything. Then everything about my master's, in terms of my transcript and my certificate, you see them. So I just attached them together like that.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then two final questions. So the scholarships you've won, well, the Commonwealth, the Ferguson, the PhD, the funding you've received, how has this changed your perspective of, how has it changed your life, or how has it changed your perspective of life generally?
Okay, it's been a gracious like it's for me it's been very very gracious to see that you get to go through you get to acquire quality education and good training with it being funded. However, I get to see that um, there's it's in terms of you will never know what you can actually attract until you go for it. Like that you can actually get until you go for it. A couple of years back, it was just like a desire, like I wish I could get it, and it got to a point whereby I'm the one not even rejecting, like so. I'm just to say this. So this is my second time of getting this scholarship I got now. The first time I got it, I rejected it, like I declined it.
Interesting.
So my getting it was not so an extent it was not by chance. Like it was not because I applied twice and I got it twice.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. The
So
same
I got to the
university,
first time. Yes, the same university, the same
the same
scholarship.
supervisor.
The same university, the same scholarship. So what happened was
But is
that
it the same
the year I got
supervisor?
eh?
The same supervisor?
No, no, okay, so for masters, you really don't need the supervisors.
Okay, that was for
You don't
masters.
need the
Okay, you were
supervisors.
talking about the
Yes,
Ferguson.
yes, the current scholarship I'm getting now.
Okay,
This is my
okay, okay.
second time of getting it.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, so I got the first one and I declined it. I
Mm,
got it the first time I declined it. Then I applied again and I got it again.
mm. Oh, so why did
Yeah.
you decline
So
the first time?
no, the first time was because I got two scholarships. I got it and I got Commonwealth.
Oh, okay. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, 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 it's quite interesting actually. So I got it and I got Commonwealth. So I looked at it. I looked at okay. I just weighed it. So I declined it, and so if I one of the reason, in addition to the reason why I actually went for this training, I came for this training again was because um because of what I'll be doing in my PhD. So I just saw because the truth is, so I got my PhD offer and this at the same time, but
Hmm.
I had to defer the PhD. I had to
Definitely.
just push it forward so that I can finish this because I knew that I needed to get some of these skills right and also in addition to what I've gotten before to drive my PhD as a seamless and as in a seamless way. So basically that's it. So back to your question, saying that how what has been my perspective. So my perspective about life generally is that you can actually get the best of education. You can get the best of training, the best of education, especially as pertains to global standard by looking out for these opportunities and putting forward your application right? You can, it's something that is possible. Like, yes, you see other persons getting some of these scholarships, and you're like, wow, wow, wow. I just wish. The truth is, you will never know what you can actually win.
Mm,
You will never know what you can get until you make that application. That's the truth. You will never know until you make that application. That's when you know that. See, this thing is really possible. Okay,
mm,
it's really possible. And so like now at this point now you discover you can see that to an extent you've been able to gather. I believe now that I've been able to gather enough skills, enough. So and the thing is, I'm building momentum. Like so, subsequently, even after my PhD, I believe that everything I've gotten so far, it would when even if I remain in research it will also help me guide me in terms of winning grants. You understand? So everything in life is like you're building. So the phase one would prepare you for the next phase,
mm,
right? Phase two will prepare you for phase three. So means that whatever phase you are now, ensure that you're able to acquire every skill, necessary skill that is required for your next phase.
Thank you so much. That ties in lastly to our last question, ties in nicely to the last question. Briefly, any final words of encouragement for anyone looking to apply for scholarship, anyone almost giving up? Any final words of encouragement for anyone who wants to do like you, submit application and just get the successes coming in?
Oh, okay. Well, my encouragement is that don't give up. Don't give up. Keep 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 at it. So the thing is, if you really want to get this funding, this scholarship, there are over 1,000 funding institutions ranging from government, non-governmental bodies, educational institution, as in institutionally funded. So there are so many right? And also, you may also want to spread your tentacles. You are like not limiting your application to just the United Kingdom or just the United States. There are other European countries that actually have funding opportunities. And Google is your friend. Go and search and make these findings yourself. Take notes. of course, these findings, these applications, we do it ourselves, right? For
Mm.
example, I never Australia going to do a PhD in Australia was never like a desire from the onset until someone told me about it. So yes, I've been hearing about it, but until I made deliberate effort to start the process, I didn't get results.
Mm.
Okay. You definitely have some obstacles. As I said, I I attempted a couple of institutions in Australia. I wanted to get supervisors. A lot of them told me that, oh, so sorry, they are actually not taking on students for this year. A lot. So the only successful PhD application I completed in Australia was what gave me my PhD. So you
Mm.
just need that 1 years.
You just need that one yes. And from there, everything just becomes positive. Oh, thank you
Yeah,
so much. Really an insightful moment with you. You've shared a lot of gems that I think will be helpful to everyone interested. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good news.
thank you.
Then
Yeah,
we'll
thank
see
you.
you some other time.